Thank you so much, Dalia. Well, wonderful to be here. Thank you, Angeles investors. Thank you for everybody at BMO for your continued support on what you're doing for our community. And thank you, Alex, for being here from your journey today, you know.
Sorry, everyone. I'm at an airport. I managed to get in a lounge though, so we'll make the most of it. I'm very excited to be here. Couldn't miss it.
Yeah, no, I mean, nowadays, as you, everyone in the world has experienced, you can kind of do business from wherever, right? So,
There's an advantage to that for sure.
yeah. So why don't we start, if it's okay with everybody? I'd like to share, we shared a little bit about each other's background, and then we can go into, a little bit about your journey. So again, a little bit about me. As Dalia mentioned, I was formerly at NASDAQ running some of the biggest IPOs for NASDAQ over the last 3 years, including Lyft, Airbnb. And I was also a founder in the past. I started a company called Latina, which I then sold to Stitch Fix, which later went public on NASDAQ, ironically. And today I help support founders through their journey as a strategic advisor, helping get more Latino IPOs to the market. I think we had a success story recently with the Honest Company in their transaction to go public on NASDAQ. But, when I've gone to look at how many Latino-led IPOs there have been in the market, I mean, I can count them on my finger. And then for those who don't know, women-led IPOs have been around 20 since the beginning of Wall Street. So I'm here to support definitely more women-led organizations as well as Latino-led organizations. So that is why I'm super thrilled to talk to Alex about her journey and how she got started on 8 Sleep.
Yeah, I'm super inspired by your journey, Laura, because I'm a founder myself, and you've been there, and there's definitely very few of us that get to that end goal of eventually taking a company public. And I'm a co-founder and head of brand at 8 Sleep. We're a technology company really for sleep. So we are in the health and wellness space. We use heart technology, whether it's data, machine learning, and hardware to help people sleep better. So have been doing this for over 6 years now. It's been a journey. I actually grew up in Tijuana, Mexico, and then moved to New York, then moved to the Bay Area, and now living in Miami and creating this new tech hub over there, working remotely with the team to continue to bring forward the best products possible and building this category of really sleep fitness. So very excited to tell you more.
Yeah, Viva Mexico. We are on fire right now.
Exactly.
with Miss Universe recently, and then, a Latinx-led IPO, all of the unicorns coming out of Mexico City. And
lot of activity, yes.
Yes, a lot of activity. And then also Miami, right? Right now, Miami is also on fire I'm actually in Silicon Valley, so we're seeing a lot of companies head your way. But now, really kind of thinking through how companies are going to set up. So I'd love to hear more about, what got you started, because I think it all starts with how do you even think about getting started on a journey to start a company, and especially a company that is so product heavy, like something that you're working on. It's such, when we think about everything that it takes to produce something like what you're producing for 8 Sleep, it's just a tremendous achievement, because as we have seen during the pandemic, supply chain and how do you get these things made, there's so much that goes on there. So I'd love to hear how you started on this journey, why sleep, why the development of this product.
Yeah, and supply chain is still a big issue right now for all companies. We were just seeing that this morning with the team here in New York. So, how I started, I think, is a journey that I wouldn't have expected for my life when I was growing up in Tijuana. It's a border city. So I think one of the beauties of that is that you grow up so close to American culture. There's a big influence from that, which is great, right? And you watch television, and I grew up kind of watching Oprah build her empire. And it was just these sorts of times that influenced me to an extent where I believed that women could achieve big things. I think our generation is very empowered to go study and build our own wealth and build our own careers, which I was very lucky to be a part of that generation. So eventually, when I moved to New York City, I went to school in Mexico. I went to school to Monterrey on a full scholarship, which I was very, very lucky to get, and then moved to New York after that and upon graduation. And we started Eight Sleep because my co-founder, Mateo, who's our CEO, and he's also my husband, he's the one that had the issues with sleep. So, I started the company with my husband, and we have other co-founders, but I think it's a story that a lot of us actually go through. Like, many of us end up starting businesses with either family members or spouses, and it's rarely talked about, but it's been an amazing journey for me because we have been able to just give it all in the last 6 years together, and building this company is not a family business because we have other partners, but very much something we're very dedicated to. So it was all stemming from his own sleep problems. He had problems with sleep. He was looking into the space. At the time, this was probably like 8 years ago, there were very different technologies in the market. And just, from there, he started getting all these sorts of aha moments of, wait a second, there's actually so many things we could be doing with technology. Why is no one doing it? And, here we are all these years later, and we're the ones that are building in this space.
Wow, so much to unpack there. So first of all, congratulations on getting a full ride and doing your education in Mexico and doing that. I'm seeing so many, badass Latinos right now coming out of MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Berkeley, all over the place. So it's just such a great time to see our community just really, reaching new levels. And then in terms of you and your husband, starting this business, it's always been very interesting for me to hear about, a husband and wife duo and what the perspective is on that from an investor standpoint. Did you think it was harder because you were coming in with your spouse as, to try to raise money or to try to start a company that way? Or did you think you had a little bit of does it give you a little bit of an advantage?
No, it was definitely hard. It was hard at the beginning. When we started, we've been together for longer than the company has existed. So, our relationship precedes that, which helps when you kind of explain the timeline of things. But it was hard at the beginning because I don't think it's because we had a relationship, but it was because we were not proven as founders. I think it's a different case if maybe you've already built a business, one of you even, right? And then at that point, the investors may be looking for less trust building. Like you've been vetted, you've proven yourself before. So even if this second time around you're starting a company with your spouse or you already did it together as a couple, that's okay. Like most investors don't really mind. But in our case, we had not built a hardware company before. We were new to the Bay Area, to Silicon Valley. Like it's just everything was new, right? Both of us are foreigners. All of us as co-founders, actually, none of us grew up in the US. For none of us, English is our first language. None of us went to university in the US. So we were just trying to build so many points of trust that, when the conversation got to the point where we had to disclose that we were in a relationship. At the beginning, we were not even married yet. For some of them, it was turning them off, and they said, well, it's not for us. And you take that very personally, right? Because you feel like your relationship is hurting opportunities for the business. But you move on and you find people who don't see that as a problem. And most of our investors actually see it as an asset because they say, well, the two of you are in it. There's no plan B for this family. You have to make this work.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. If your whole, your whole self and your whole family is in it, I think it's just such a bigger risk. So it's, from an investor standpoint, I would see that as you have a greater chance of making it because you have so much on the line. Yeah.
I mean, most companies, right? They fail. Most startups fail because co-founder relationships fall apart. Mm-hmm. When you are married to someone or whether your sibling, that relationship is rarely going anywhere in the short term. So you have to figure things out. That's going to keep you together for longer.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's such a critical point of a founding team, right? A lot of companies or a lot of investors think about what do they want in a company. And the number one thing they always look at is the founding team. If you don't have a track record, that's fine. But who are you? Like how are you going to make it? Are you going to, what's your work ethic? How do you guys get along? Are you trustworthy? And do you work ethically? All of those things that maybe don't sound like they would be looked at, they are absolutely looked at when you're
I
going
agree
through
with you on
the
that.
process.
When I started doing investments with Clio Capital, my friend Sarah, who started the fund, that was the one thing that I really thought about. And for my own experience doing a company now, it's been quite a few years. I think at the end of the day is the commitment, is the why. Why is this person doing this business? Are they doing this just because they want to make money? Because there's easier ways to make money. There are more stable ways to make money. What's the motivation? What's their drive? What's the chip on their shoulder, which I think most of us that come from these, more underrepresented backgrounds have a big chip on our shoulders. We want to prove something to ourselves and to others. And so vetting for that is definitely something investors are looking at.
Yeah. And so what stage are you guys at? Where are you guys in the growth of your company?
Yeah, so we've obviously been out there with our product for a few years. The last round we raised was like a B2, so we're going for a Series C this year if all things go well. We've raised quite a bit of capital, over $70 million, that most of it has been invested in R&D. We have over 30,000 people who sleep on our product every single night, from football teams and NBA athletes and celebrities to a lot of CEOs, a lot of founders, a lot of investors. In general, people who are high performers looking to sleep better for whatever they want to achieve in their lives.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. Sleep, such a critical part of just everything we do, right? And you having to tackle that with your significant other, and your husband, it's just, I mean, where did it start? And where do you think, what integral part does it play in everything that we do, especially during COVID, all of the time that we spent at home? I know everybody was probably like, okay, I'm on my bed almost all day now.
Hopefully people caught up a little bit on their sleep, but yeah, it's so key. It's actually more important than eating or exercise. You could have a period of time in which you're not working out at all, but if you're sleeping really well, you'll be healthier than if you're sleeping terribly and just have like a really regimented fitness routine. Like, people don't realize how sleep is just so fundamental. There's been studies that have been conducted with rats. Obviously it's really hard to do this with humans, but they've proven that you would die sooner of sleep deprivation than food deprivation. So sleep is the ultimate food, really the ultimate nutrient. It's something that your body needs in order to exist. So it's super key. We're obsessed with it. I sleep a lot. I sleep close to 9 hours every single night. I frequently share my stats on Twitter, and people are like, how do you sleep so much? I don't have kids, dysfunction, so I understand. I haven't been through that. But it's so important. And so we're obsessed with this idea of making people understand how valuable it is, but also building products that can facilitate sleep, because it's hard to just tell people every day, you should sleep more, you should sleep more. But they may have issues, right? And they have issues falling asleep, and they may not make enough time for sleep because life gets in the way. They may have kids, they may sleep with pets, they may have anxieties, they may have sleep apnea, who knows? And so tackling sleep from that perspective of not just education, which I think a lot of brands have tried to do, but solutions. That's what we're obsessed with at 8 Sleep, and that's what we do with our current product, which is looking at the data, so the behavioral part of showing you how you're sleeping and all of the stats, but also creating the perfect environment for sleep, starting with temperature. So we do the full temperature regulation of your bed, and then the vision of the company is to go after other aspects of the environment that could get in the way of a good night's sleep. Temperature is the number one, scientifically speaking, the number one thing that gets in the way of a good night's sleep is temperature. Then we will go for light and noise and oxygen control and humidity and a bunch of other things. So we're doing some very interesting stuff right now. That's why I'm right now in New York City, because we were looking at some of the latest prototypes of what the team is building, going in that direction of what do we do next beyond temperature control.
That's so awesome. And so talk to me about the product again. So is it a mattress? Is it a layer on a mattress? How do you regulate that? And how would you incorporate anything outside of temperature? That's so interesting.
Yeah. So we have both. So the technology itself is built on a cover. So imagine it's like if you were adding a mattress cover to a mattress, and you can purchase that integrated with our mattress, or you can add it to your existing mattress. So this sort of addition, this cover version that can go on any bed, is something we released a few months ago, and it's selling really well because it opens the market, right? There is more people willing to add an accessory versus replacing the whole bed. And that cover has our proprietary technology of not only the hardware, but also sensors that are health grade sensors that, without you having to wear anything, in real time are tracking your heart rate at rest, your heart rate variability, respiratory rate, and with movement. With that information, then we infer, just like they would do at a sleep clinic, how you are sleeping. Are you sleeping? Are you awake? Deep sleep, REM sleep, light sleep, like all of this. And so when you wake up, you see a report about your health and your sleep, but also while you're sleeping, the bed is able to change the temperature to match the different phases of your sleep.
That's amazing. Definitely have to check it out. I when I sleep hard, but it's just the falling asleep is really tough for me. I don't like to go to sleep. So
you want to keep working.
Exactly. I'm like, I got to get to something else. I got to get to something else, and then it condenses my sleep. So sometimes with sleep, I want it to be a good night's sleep if I'm only getting 4 or 5 hours or something like that.
And this is a big thing, that's something actually that Matteo, my co-founder, talks a lot about, which is the idea that eventually 8 Sleep could optimize your sleep to the point where you could be getting the same level of recovery in 6 hours as you currently get when you sleep 8 hours. That is his vision. That is where he would like to go, where he thinks, well, maybe right now as humans, we need all of this time because sleep is not optimized. We kind of waste a lot of time. It's not all high quality sleep. Could we get to the point where it's so high quality that we could compress it? So we could give you back a couple of hours of your life. The average American only spends like 6 hours and 40 minutes every night for sleep. So people are not making enough time for it anyways. Could we just optimize it so that they can fit it into their lives?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure, like you mentioned earlier, it's so essential, and everything going on right now with, with the impact of COVID and having mental, some problems with health. So I'm sure it's just, very helpful all around everything.
Yeah, I agree. There were the stats around vaccine efficacy, the importance of a good night's sleep after you get the vaccine. So yeah, it's super, super key, and the awareness for it is growing big time.
And are you guys just in the US, or are you also selling internationally?
We're only US and Canada right now. I do get a lot of requests to ship to Mexico. Some people have some way gotten their way to taking it through the border, but hopefully we'll get there before the end of the year.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. That would be amazing if you guys can get into Latam. So what's ahead for 8 Sleep?
Working on a lot of product innovation. That is very important for us because we know that in order to really help you sleep better, there's so many other things we have to do for you. So that's what we're building now, is how do we go beyond the perfect microclimate? What are the other things in the environment that could be getting in the way? What solutions do we build? So a lot of work on those developments.
Awesome. So I'm sure, we have a very diverse audience. So if you can think about, maybe something that you would tell yourself, either how to overcome a challenge or what you would do differently, what do you think that you would tell, some kind of advice?
I think I would have studied something different in school, as much as I loved my major. But I think the more we can get people from our communities to become technical earlier in their careers, I think that's such a great investment to make. And I just don't think, at least it was in my case, where in my immediate family, that's something that I saw or that was encouraged, like to become really technical, to go study computer science or machine learning or whatever the new degrees now. Like I wish I would have been exposed to that earlier on. So I would definitely say that to people who are starting off, and to not be scared or discouraged if they don't see other people around them doing it, to just go and pursue it, because I think that increases your chances of success in our industry. And the second one I would say is to try and build this early on. And I think that this applies to anyone at any stage of their careers, but if you start early, it's such a great investment. Just a network of people that are really interested in personally kind of invested in your success. People who want to support you, that are not just maybe they don't even give you money for your company. It's just that they care about seeing you be successful. And I do think that that's something that as a community we have to build more of. Those connections and that sort of even informal type mentorship of people you can reach out to because they care about seeing others like them be successful in their space.
Yeah, I love that. Especially with some of the things that I'm doing, I'm happy to support. We have a lot of different programs where we give education on, hey, how do you start a company? How, what's a term sheet? All of these things, free resources. I want everything to be free because, I want our community to grow and also be able to reach new levels. And a lot of times you can't do that because you don't have the access and you can't afford it. And so when it comes to education, those are things that I'm really passionate about, being able to support our community and give back in that way and provide that guidance, to whoever needs it. So I'm excited.
And pay your interns. Once you have your company, pay your interns.
Yes.
Because, many people cannot take those internships because they don't have the family to support them. I was in that position when I was young. So I always say that it's like, we don't take free labor in our company because not everyone can afford it. So that is going to at least help a little bit to level the playing field.
Yeah, I agree. I pay my interns, but one of the things that you also have to do is come up with creative ways to think about, where are they, what's going to be their opportunities. So I'm really thoughtful also about being able to, offer different opportunities for them that if it's getting away of something that, we have going on, I want to encourage them because again, we're all here to try to help build our community and reach new levels within the Latino and people of color. Yeah. And then to go back to your first point on, encouraging some of more exploration on science. I have a 6-year-old who is so curious about, I feel like there's more exposure right now to like science projects and science things, and she's really interested in it. The only thing is I don't know how to expose her to more of it, and what are the resources out there that I can expose her to. So I'm just trying to be thoughtful about how I approach that. But she's definitely interested in it. So it wasn't something I was interested in. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, like you're saying, what could I do now to help encourage that? Because I know, back in the day when I was growing up, my parents were just like, okay, she's going to school. That's good enough.
Yes. And they want you to, become a doctor, become a lawyer, just finance, like these are the sorts of roles. It's normal. The world is changing. And so how do we also as a community understand, or potentially even entrepreneurs who are building products for our community, right? A lot of kids growing up in our community are bilingual, for example. And so do we build programs for them to get exposed to what the new world may look like and the skills they need to develop that are more catered to our kids who are also growing up in bilingual environments? Like we also require something that adjusts to culturally how we're growing up, even if we're growing up in the United States. And I don't think that, at least some of the companies I know that are building in the education space, there's a really good startup just raised some funding recently. Actually, there's their educational lead there is a Latina, an amazing woman from Panama. The company's called Synthesis, and it's like an education platform, but like with a twist, like through gaming. Super, super interesting background there. And how does that apply to kids that may grow up in a kind of different cultural environment, or whose parents may not have the resources to get them through those programs that are kind of after school programs. So there's a lot of fun opportunities.
Awesome. Well, I know you have to, make your flight. So I don't want to keep you too long on this charla. But before we sign up, tell us what's exciting that's going on in Miami. I know that there's so much going on in the startup community. So for those who, aren't there, or for those who want to go there, what would you recommend?
It's so fun because I just feel like, New York is so diverse and I lived here for 8 years, but Miami is even more Latin. So it's amazing to see how the community of local entrepreneurs who are already there are now getting connected with a lot of the founders, or also a lot of big investors who are making the move to Miami. And so suddenly their opportunities are much closer to home, which I think it's very, very exciting. And what's happening is just that, is people are coming together to this place because everyone's trying to figure out what is going on. So they're all visiting, they're all scouting, everyone's getting connected, and the opportunities are just coming up as these connections happen. A lot of events, a lot of people meeting in person, and so after this sort of year that just feels like everything was put on pause in terms of in-person events, then suddenly in Florida everything's coming back to life much sooner than anywhere else, and I think that is just great for entrepreneurs. We're certainly feeling that as founders and meeting people that even at our stage as founders, we had never met before. We had never been connected with at that level, because everyone's trying to build a new life in a new place. So there's the interest from everyone to build friendships, build connections, build a network, and be successful together and make Miami kind of our next success as a tech hub. And I think it's going to happen.
Awesome. And what are you seeing as far as, your work? Like, are you bringing employees back? Are they all remote? What's kind of the view there?
So we took the company entirely remote last year. We have a lab here in New York that is our hardware lab. That's like our product R&D lab where the team was based here. So a lot of the work that they do has to be in person. They do a lot of prototyping and speccing of the technology. But the rest of the company is remote. So that's why we made the move to Miami. Some of our other team members will be going down there as well, just because they decided on their own that they liked it. It's not like we're opening right now an office or anything there. But yeah, we have people who moved everywhere, closer to family, maybe places that are a bit more affordable for living. And I think it gives them a better life balance, and we're happy for that.
Yeah. It's the new work, right? It's the hybrid approach, or full remote, or, hybrid.
Yep.
Being able to, really allow yourself to work where you need to work. And like you said, like you're working from an airport today.
Yeah, you can work from anywhere. And during your free time, if you want to be in a place that fits more to your lifestyle, why not? I think that's the future. We don't want it to just be forcing you to be trapped in a place that maybe is not a fit just because you're pursuing some dream career. You can pursue that dream career from anywhere.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for all of your inspiration, Alex. I'm really excited. I'm definitely going to try 8 Sleep, because I know I can use some sleep all the time with my daughter. And safe travels back to
Thank
Miami.
you.
And thank you so much for sharing all of your insights.